Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ewan and Deputy Chair. Welcome to the Regulatory and Hearings Committee meeting for the 21st of March 2024. I just want to pop a couple of reminders out. First of all, if you heard the music playing earlier, that was a nod to balloons, but I'm going to talk to that in a second. Just a reminder to guests in the gallery that if you could please note that up the front here we can actually hear quite a bit. So if you're talking, we'd prefer that you do that outside the chamber, otherwise it can get to be just a little bit distracting. So if you could just keep that in mind, please. That also goes for colleagues as well. A reminder to presenters that you have 5 minutes for submissions, unless you're an organisation, which will be 10 minutes. And it's always best to leave a minute or two at the end of your presentation just for potential questions. Colleagues, a reminder that we're going to try and keep to time today, as we have a few presenters in the public forum. And I'd remind you that to keep your questions on point and in line with clarification for staff and for presenters. Right, now that the formal stuff's out of the way, did you know, seeing as it's hot air balloon week here in the Waikato, that the first hot air balloon was invented in the late 18th century? It was created by the Montgolfier brothers, Joseph Michael and Jacques-Etienne Montgolfier. Please excuse my French pronunciation, who were very successful French inventors. Their first unmanned flight occurred on June the 4th, 1783, in Annonay, France. The balloon was made of paper and silk and was filled with hot air produced by burning straw, wool and old rags. There you go. It was later, on the 21st of November in 1783, that the first manned flight of a hot air balloon took place in Paris, France. The balloon, called the Aerostat Réveillon, was piloted by Jean-François Pilatre de Rosière and François Laurent des Arlandes. This historic flight marked the beginning of human-controlled flight and sparked a revolution in aviation technology, which I'm sure my Deputy Chair, Councillor Ewan, would relate to, being an aviator himself. So there you go. That's your little bit of history, as I like to start each meeting with. So hopefully you've learnt something today. Okay. Rightio. So on to the agenda. Item 1 is our apologies. We have, for early departure, Councillor Huaki, who I believe is online, Councillor Casey Cox, and also Councillor Hutt. And we have a full apology from Councillor Moko. So I'll move.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
May I please put an apology? I'm going to have to duck out for about 10 to 15 minutes just before 10 o'clock. I apologise.
Okay.
I will just go out there and I have to be on a call.
Yep.
And I'll come back as soon as I can. But my
Okay.
apologies for that.
All right. Can we note that in the minutes? Yep. Okay. So I'll move.
I'll second,
Yep.
noting that if everybody does leave,
Yeah, we're going
signalled we're going to collapse
Yeah.
quorum or get very close to
Yeah.
it.
I duck out at that time, right?
No, you'll be all right. Yeah, it's the later.
Yep. But my eagle-eyed governance man on my right here will keep an eye on things. So, yeah, if I tell you to sit down, you're not allowed to leave. Okay. All right. So you were seconding it when you? Okay. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those against? Ayes have it.
Carried.
Yeah, that's your. Yeah, okay. Okay. Confirmation of the agenda. I'll move. Okay, Councillor Maxine to second. All those in favour?
Carried.
All right. Are there any declarations of interest?
I have a
Yes.
so GoEco is presenting a submission on the waste management and minimisation strategy.
Oh, yep.
I have had no involvement in the submission.
Yep.
And I note that we're not making a decision today, so
No.
happy to hear it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Councillor Louise. No vote required on that. Yeah.
Made a submission on the Puketi Neighbourhood House issue that will come up later on.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is coming up later on, isn't it? Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
it's prior to my election, obviously.
Yep. So we've got a note of that. We might. Yep. Okay. All right. Confirmation of the last meeting, which. Oh.
Excuse yourself from that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kia ora.
Capacity, not knowing I'd be sitting here having to consider the issue later.
I might look to governance for some assistance on that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're not making decisions today. No. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Arnold. Confirmation of the meeting minutes from the 20th of September. I'm happy to move. Councillor Ewan to second. All those in favour? Right. Against? No.
Carried unanimously.
Okay. So, on to item 5. Now, this is our water supply bylaw review engagement. We don't have any speakers as was originally thought. So, what I'd like to also remind you that there was a very late attachment came in actually about midnight last night. It's more just a FYI. It's a letter from FENZ. So if you get a chance a little bit later, have a read over that. But it's a letter in support of the review. So that's that part. So who's going to? Is it? That's it. Okay, I'll move.
West, John.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, are we still intending taking any kind of feedback on that? Like normally, well, often, you might get some feedback or direction from elected members. Is this the time for that or not on submissions? What do so you're wanting to, I mean, normally we hear submissions.
Yeah.
And
Feedback to staff on what you want to see in the deliberations report.
is there any opportunity for that on this before we vote?
We're
Yep.
not voting today.
No.
But we are passing, passing it, accepting the.
Yeah.
So the question is, when is the opportunity for any
I
feedback?
think it's now.
So before we vote?
Yep. There's no technical
Yeah.
staff in the room though that can answer. Sorry. Oh, hang on.
It was more-
I've just noticed that.
It was more a comment.
Oh, okay. All right. So if it's not a question, would you like to make a comment on?
If I could.
Yeah. Go.
I just, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It sounds like a big deal now, but it's not.
We're all waiting to take a breath.
It was simply that on reading the submissions, I noticed, I think 2 of them referred to wanting more plain language. I think and the fact that they would have understood it better if the language was plainer. And I just wanted to make that point, and that maybe that's something we need to bear in mind. I think 2 out of 12 submitters both mentioned, geez, could we have a bit more plain language? I know it's not easy to do, but just something to bear in mind.
So thanks, Councillor Jeff, and if staff can make a note of that, and we can feed that back. Thanks, Maury. Okay. Well, on that note, I'll move the report.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. And it is a technical question, but it's really just to flag something so that we can have a look at it later. And that's regarding the SNZ PAS 4509/2008 that's referred to in the feedback from organisations. That is a document I have actually read and used several times, and it has some problems in relation to councils. When will we have time to look deeper into that with staff? And that can be offline.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Ray Simpson, tuku ingoa. I'm the Three Waters planner in the Three Waters unit. So the plan is to take this, the deliberations report to the 2nd of May Infrastructure and Transport Committee meeting, and that's when we have a really close look at the submissions, and there'll be a chance to discuss, I guess, any of your concerns there, Councillor Baida, and then once you're comfortable or give us any direction post the deliberations phase, then we can amend the bylaw and bring it through for adoption.
Is it appropriate to have some offline discussion in preparation for that?
I would love to get your feedback, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that would be really good if we could do that nice and early, and so that we can flesh that out and see how we can address that.
Yeah, because it is so technical, no one else will be interested.
I totally agree
Yeah.
with you, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll deal with it that way.
All right, thank you, Rowan. Thanks, Councillor Bitter, for your understanding. And if
Thank you.
any colleagues got any more feedback for staff on this matter, or? No? Okay, right, so now I can move it. And seconded by Councillor Wilson. Yep, okay, all those in favour? Aye. Against?
Carried unanimously.
Okay, right, nice and easy. Right, item 6 is our waste management and minimisation strategy engagement report. We've got Tanya with us this morning, so
I'll just take the report as read, Chair, and invite the people that are here for their submissions and thank them very much for the time that they've taken to do so.
okay, good stuff. All right, well, so that'll bring us to our first submitter, who I have down here as Jane Landman and Rob Gray. No? What's that? Next one? Okay, Joe, so we'll move on to Joe Wrigley and Kelly Pike. Yeah. Yeah. So, just as a reminder, speaking. Like there's an opportunity for questions that my colleagues might seek for clarification, just leave a little bit of time at the end. But there'll be a timer up on the board. Floor is yours.
Kia ora. So greetings and respectful acknowledgements to the whānau, hapu, iwi, councillors and others gathered here today. I'm here today to speak to the Hamilton City Council Waste Management Plan on behalf of GoEco, or the Waikato Environment Centre Trust. We want to start by acknowledging the work and community engagement undertaken by the HCC, or Hamilton City Council Waste Minimisation Team, and the progression of the strategy is commendable. We also today want to implore you to embrace a paradigm shift toward zero waste community circularity initiatives grounded in the principles of Te Tiriti or Waitangi and Indigenous land rights as key components of our shared climate resilience. We're one of a group of regional organisations with a refreshed focus on resource recovery, circularising materials and prioritising onshore solutions to align with global calls for action on waste minimisation and climate change. Real resource recovery centres, or to quote Rick Thorpe, who many of you I hope know, CRCs are real climate resilient centres, and these must transcend being mere landfill pits with attached shops. They serve as the gateway to a circular economy, redirecting the materials away from landfills towards their next useful life. We want to stress that in those setups, the role of staff is engagement, and it's crucial. They guide customers towards the right collection points. They're ensuring materials are properly sorted and repurposed. It provides community-based and community-led employment initiatives. Kirikiriroa is ripe for community resilience centres, serving as hubs for localised resource recovery. Education, employment and sustainability initiatives come from these initiatives or these centres. By localising these efforts, we enhance accessibility and foster community engagement and waste reduction. Communities have a vested interest in our shared health and well-being. We share the objective of reduction and reuse. The private sector is and must be guided by profit in the continuance of waste streams. We want a collaborative approach. The Council can forge deeper relationships with community groups to develop a network of community resource recovery centres. These centres amplify our waste reduction efforts and align with national calls for zero carbon and greater waste minimisation. It's important that in this region and in the city we utilise the structures that already exist. We have and this council funds an entire range of community hubs and centres and houses and spaces that can act to some degree to educate and provide spaces for community-led initiatives like this. We want to see zero waste hubs that deliver services that communities want: behaviour change, reuse, repair, composting and recycling. They're ideal drop-off points for future product stewardship schemes like e-waste, plastics and deposit returns for containers. We're holding out for that. Combined engagement and education with service delivery. That means that households and businesses they work with come on a journey up the waste hierarchy so that reducing, reusing, recycling and composting become the norm. Collaborate with us through national and local networks to share knowledge, skills and experience. And the collective work on behaviour change supports the shift by households and businesses away from single use towards reuse, durability, right to repair and sharing models. We support landfill bans, waste levies, product stewardship and extended producer responsibility. Infrastructure for reuse options and local food security are also crucial. We recognise that these aren't solely the responsibility of council, but we do want to see an extension of that vision in the waste management strategy plans. So to conclude, our journey towards zero waste community circularity is not just an environmental imperative, but a moral obligation. By embracing Indigenous wisdom, collaborative partnerships and circular economy principles, we can build a resilient and sustainable future for Kirikiriroa. We want to work together to turn waste into opportunity and create a thriving, regenerative community for many generations to come. Kia ora.
Great, thank you, Joe. I'd invite colleagues if you have any questions seeking clarification on the submission. No, nothing online. Okay, thank you very much for your submission. Really appreciate you taking the time to come in today. Thank you. Yeah. Now I believe Jane is here, so if you'd like to take your take a seat and have your turn. Thank you. Just a reminder that it's 10 minutes for you to speak. Yeah.
Kia ora everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. Everything Joe said, but I sort of come at it from a slightly different angle. I was really excited when I saw the waste strategy. I think it's one of the most important documents that Council will ever produce. And the reason I say that is we can live without a lot of things. We can live without fancy entranceways and seats, even libraries. We can live without a lot of things. We cannot live without a livable planet. And I just say that over and over because I don't think we're getting this. Don't think we're getting how close to the precipice that humankind is at the moment. Unless we throw everything we have at this, we're going under. So I just think it's so important that we do a lot more than what we're doing at the moment. The strategy, I think, is great as far as it goes, but I understand there's no action plan attached, so it sort of seems a bit vague. I think we need a lot more specific and diverse strategies to tackle this problem. And I understand that, you know, the fiscal thing is going on, but I think this is, you know, really needs to be high priority for spending. I think we need a lot more levies and fees on waste materials to help cover the costs, that the money should go straight into the costs of recycling, disposable, reusing, etc. Large fees for dumping building materials, and I know that more of that is getting recycled now, but there's still a lot getting dumped. Charge a lot of money for that, but I think you need both. You need a carrot and you need a stick. Use both. Have incentives for builders that do the right thing and to recycle it. Reduce their consent fees. There's lots of ways to do that, to incentivise and to discourage. A lot of people, like myself, we compost our own scraps, and we only put my rubbish out once a month, if that, because I really take care to try and put as little as possible in there. And I think I don't know how, but I think there needs to be some incentivising people to do the right thing, to not have so much rubbish and to do their own composting. I was thinking about smart bins, with technology today, maybe you could have smart bins, that record, and that gets recorded against your rates or whatever, and you get a reduction for that. I think use AI. We have so much evil about AI, but AI has huge potential to help us do these kinds of things, use AI, harness it, and use it to help solve these problems. Disincentivise plastic bottles at events. Oh, I would just not allow them at all. In fact, I would ban plastic bottles outright. This has been done in Concord, Massachusetts, San Francisco, Zimbabwe, and Bundadoon in New South Wales, which I think was one of the first little towns to ban plastic bottles altogether. It astounds me when you go to the supermarket and you see Hawke's Bay, for heaven's sakes, they have droughts there. There's a whole lot of bottled water from Hawke's Bay right in the doorway. It's just like extraordinary. So I'd just ban them all together. Ban non-recyclable plastics, 3, 4, 6, 7. I talk to the supermarket, and our supermarkets just stop soft plastic recycling. Like, really? Anyway, people in where I live want to do the right thing. They want to recycle, they want to reuse, they don't want to produce rubbish. This is not helping. Extend soft plastic recycling, encourage all supermarkets to join in. At the moment, there's only about half of them. Create collection points and hubs, was what Joe was saying. You've already got the structures. We're already doing this work in an informal way, but community houses. We collect recycling for TerraCycle. You heard of TerraCycle, which recycles certain things, lids and toothpaste and things like that. But we already collect for that. We're starting to collect bottle tops because we have a volunteer that comes in and does the recycling. We already take soft plastics. Not anything about you, Joe, but I have to say that 95% of our waste comes from Kaivolution deliveries, and it freaks me out, to be honest. So every week we have a whole bulging container of just soft plastic alone. So every week we go down to Countdown and we take it there, but it's just horrifying the amount of it. Disposable nappies, I don't know what you can do about that. That's a real educate, discourage use. The idea would to give some free nappies when somebody gives birth, but I don't know, I can't see that happening, but try to think of ways to stop, because they're available, they're here, people can use them, it's convenient seems to be the thing, but we have to make it convenient for people to do the right thing. People will do the right thing if it's convenient and easy for them. only people like me will go and wash all their plastic and do all that stuff. But it's the middle people. Some people will never do the right thing. And I don't know what you do about those people. But there's a big people in the middle who would do the right thing. Just make it easier for them. I don't know if any of you remember, there was like a one-armed bandit. There was these machines in petrol stations and they had holes and you put your cans in them. And they were fantastic and they had prizes, CRC and candy, I can't remember what else. Look, there were kids lined up around the block with their cans every Saturday. It was the highlight of our week when my kids were little, to go there and put the cans in the holes. It was fantastic and it was so successful. And then it stopped. I think it was too successful. Maybe they were giving out too many prizes, but I would bring that back, you know, maybe dial down the prizes a bit, but bring that back. That could be used for all sorts of things. Cans, if you don't ban the bottles, other things. And kids really love it, and that's a really good way to educate people too, in a really visible and concrete way. Bring back bottle deposits on glass. Batteries, polystyrene, soft plastic. Polystyrene is something that gives me nightmares, and they do recycle it at, I think it's Mitre 10. But who's going to get their new laptop or whatever, and drive to Mitre 10 with their polystyrene? I mean, it's very little, I imagine, is collected. It is horrendous. There must be zillions of tonnes of that in landfill. And batteries, and we know batteries are awful. If anything happens to batteries, they're really bad. But again, collect. I know places like Go Eco do, but it's quite expensive. We're going to start collecting batteries as well, because there are places to recycle them. I think, oh God, where somebody recycles batteries. But again, people aren't going to how many people are going to collect them up and take them? You know, you need to try and have places where you can take a variety of recycling, not just one thing. So then and it needs to be in people's neighbourhoods, places where people are, where they live and work and play. Lincoln Street, like, that's miles away from it. I'd never go there. It's miles and miles away. For people that don't have cars, they're never going to get there. They'll just dump it on the side of the road. And we all know, we've all seen that everywhere all over the city. Talked about TerraCycle, have more drop-off points. Or actually, but getting rid of it is be my first option anyway. To get rid of this stuff and not have it is the best thing. But we need education too, like Joe was saying. You know, migrants and refugees who come from different countries who don't understand it, and the people that live here that don't understand it. Have education around it. Road shows. You could have road shows. The waste management station or the council could do road shows. You know how they used to do with a bear or something used to go around in this van? Could do that at events and places like that. Furniture. Furniture's another real biggie, especially around the university. If any of you ever driven or walked down First Street, you'd know that you could furnish your whole flat there probably every couple of weeks. Students, for a lot of students and a lot of people, just dump it out on the verge when they leave. But a lot of it's really good. I've seen hundreds of mattresses, but when I look at them, I think, well, there's actually not that much wrong with that mattress. It's not really manky. So I don't know how to do this. Again, could have collections, regular collections, say, work with the university, with Habitat for Humanity, the St Vinny's Salvation Army, get everybody together and have, collections of furniture. You could have it at the university car park in the holidays or something like that. And scrap metal's another one. I think that could be just small broken tools, nails, small things. That could be easily added to existing recycling. I don't see why that couldn't just go in the yellow bin with the other things. Anyway, one day I predict that we'll be going around all the old rubbish dumps with giant magnets, getting all that scrap metal out of those old landfills. So, there's lots of places to recycle it. Really let people put it in their bin. That's easy. And organic collections, and we don't do them in Hamilton, they do them in Tauranga, they do them in other places. And I know, oops, how much have I got, 30 seconds? There are problems with it, but I think it's worth it. Like, there's informal ones in Riverlea, people put it out and it's gone. Yeah. Sorry?
If you'd like to start wrapping up now, that'd be good.
Yeah. That it can work. So I guess, again, to sum up, The key thing, make it easy, make it convenient for people, reward people, incentivise recycling, but punish the recycling for, not the poor people, they're not going to pay, they can't pay, but, use the carrot and the stick, use AI, use every tool at your disposal. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you for your very passionate submission. I did notice there was a question, but it seems to have dropped off. All good? Thanks, Kit. Thank you, Deputy Chair. And thank you again, Jane. Thank you for taking the time to come in. Appreciate it. Okay, next on the list I have Michelle Howie. No. No, okay. Right. Robin Johnson. No. Not on Zoom. No. Okay. Now this next, we are. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do. I don't think actually. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to suggest that we have an adjournment, just because we're running a bit ahead of time, and then secondly because the lovely Deputy Mayor Angela has baked for us today. So, yes. Well, no, just Feijoa season, I believe. She is a food recycling
My
champion.
vegetable garden, my worm farm, my composting. We've got 20 minutes.
Oh, we know that you're
How I trench my vegetables in my compost.
Yeah.
I mean, in my veggie garden, I can talk for hours on that.
Thank you. Not at this time. Okay, so we'll just take a 15-minute recess and come back at 10:20. Okay. All right. Right, welcome back, and thank you for indulging us with that recess. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Angela, for your baking. Delicious. Now, my understanding is that Michelle Howie is available on Zoom. She's speaking for Extreme Zero Waste Limited. So, hello, Michelle.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. If you'd like to start your submission now, you may hear a little bell in the background which will go off, which will indicate that that's your 10-minute time being completed.
Kia ora.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Open to you.
Tēnā koutou katoa e mihi ana kia koutou, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to our submission today. Ko Michelle Howie tōku ingoa, and I represent the Board of Directors from Extreme Zero Waste. Our operations are based in Whangaroa, Raglan, although it's fair to say that our reach and influence reaches across many parts of Aotearoa. That's largely a credit to our founders and the many skilled and passionate people who've been a part of the Extreme journey in the past and in our present. We are a proud community-led resource recovery centre. Today, I will refer to organisations like ours as RRCs. Many people still refer to our sites on Te Hutiwai Road in Raglan as the dump, but it has developed over the years to an unrecognisable new type of facility. No waste is dumped and left on our site now. The stream that used to be buried under Raglan's mixed waste now flows into a much improved harbour with cleaner water and a thriving ecosystem. To that point, much credit must be awarded to the many, many locals who have championed the environment, founded important community movements, protested loudly and demanded better for Te Whenua, Te Moana and Te Taiao. I have been a director on the board since 2022, and I also have the additional perspective of being a resident here in Hamilton. Today, I wish to make a few comments about our own learnings at Extreme and what parts of that learning journey might translate successfully into a much bigger urban setting like Hamilton. First, a few comments on the submissions. It's clear that a majority of submitters are calling for greater strength and action in this strategy. In one submitter's words, this strategy needs to be bolder and go further, faster. We are in a climate crisis. Many city submitters gave you specific suggestions on improvements to the current rubbish and recycling services. This indicates the depth of community feeling and the desire for a sensible system. I'm sure you will take note of their comments. It was also heartening to see submitters' understanding of issues around diverting waste from construction and demolition, the difficulty of slowing down consumption patterns, and recent standardisation changes to recycling plastics. There was good submitter awareness that much of the control for this sits at the central lawmaking level, not with local government. There was also some mention of new incentives, fees and repercussions that could drive changed behaviours. We are sure that you would go carefully and consultatively into those spaces. In our experience, education is key, and education is a never-ending task. I note the mention of our organisation in at least one other submission, and it was great to see recognition for our mahi. I noted a submitter mentioning our own diversion achievements at Extreme Zero Waste. Yes, it's true that we are successfully diverting between 70 to 80% of all waste collected from curbside away from landfill. We have a very successful organic waste collection, and this is a metric that we talk about regularly, we monitor closely and report on in detail to Waikato District Council, with whom we hold the contract for curbside rubbish and recycling services in Raglan and the rural area surrounding it. This is a metric that means a great deal to us, and it is a monthly topic of conversation for us as a Board of Directors. I noted the call for transparency from the current Hamilton curbside contractors' diversion statistics, and the submitter, suspecting that the answer is well below 70%, made a strong suggestion that HCC should also support the quick expansion of a network of RRCs across the city. The reason for so many submitters mentioning RRCs and so much support for them in the community is simple. Closer contact with resources at the end of their life increases the diversion and recovery of resources to new purposes, new markets, and it also helps a culture of reuse and reduction take hold in the community. It is our belief at Extreme that RRCs are a critical element to achieving any waste reduction target. As one of your questions asked us all, yes, it is important to change from the old plan to a new strategy, as waste is still escalating per person in Hamilton, despite the previous plan's interventions. It is a case of if we keep doing what we're doing, we will get more of what we've got. The reality in Hamilton is that our away is well out of sight. When we roll our wheelie bins to the curb and we tow our green waste to the dump, the contents are taken away and out of our city. Our neighbours in the regions live closer to the green waste, organic waste and landfill waste we create, but not us Hamiltonians. We use the phrase throw it away in a very throwaway fashion. But to greater or lesser extents, we all know that there is no away. All waste goes somewhere. A lot of our resources could be kept much closer to home and inserted into a circular and localised system of recovery and reuse. Importantly, people need contact, closer contact with these resources and these resource loops in order to see the scale of the waste problem and own their part in the solutions and the responsibilities. One of your submitters spotted the opportunity to create local composting hubs and community gardens on school grounds. This is an example of people naturally understanding the logic of local circular models where some resources don't have to go away. Community RRCs are also a hub for employment and activities of all kinds. One of the greatest joys that we get as directors from our mahi at Extreme is being an employer. We love sharing the kaupapa with a big team, developing rangatahi into their first jobs, training people up, helping them gain qualifications to move onwards and into higher employment. We were delighted to read the following in your action plan. I quote, "Enable the growth of an accessible and easy-to-use network of community resource recovery hubs and circular projects for reusing, repairing, repurposing, recycling, the sharing economy, and avoiding waste." This is the direction that we support. To that point, I want to add to our submission with some projections on how many RRCs Hamilton could sustain should the Council wish to pursue a stronger waste reduction vision. Experience has shown that RRCs work well to support between 10,000 to 20,000 people. So what that would mean in Hamilton would be an intentional and strategic network design across suburbs of smaller and larger centres or hubs that collaborate around common waste reduction goals. Auckland Council currently works with a well-established network of community RRCs, and this is a great example of how it can work. There are currently 14 operational RRCs in Auckland, 8 more are in the pipeline, and there are 2 resource recovery parks, which are a mix of commercial operations and community-led activities. In Hamilton, we don't yet have any community-led RRCs. As one submitter said, a landfill pit with a shop attached is not what we're talking about here. If Hamilton is up for it, an emergent network of 2 or 3 community-led RRCs, building to a mature network of 8 to 9, would demonstrate a real step change for the city. We need to make RRCs accessible, local, and vibrant locations where real people are driving the solutions to our waste problems. It would take investment and courage, but many of the pieces are already scattered around you. Many of the submitters to this strategy are key players that you could call on to partner with. I will reiterate again, as per our submission, an offer from Extreme Zero Waste to share what we know about establishing RRCs and networking them together for impact, if HCC wish to pursue this direction. In closing, I offer a few comments on the community-led aspect of RRCs across Aotearoa. It is vital that local government understand the power of partnering with community, not managing community organisations like suppliers. Partnering involves a higher degree of trust and flexibility, but under that model, more innovation and smarter solutions will flourish. If you allow the community to own their own waste issues, they can design their way out of the problem. If you do not already, I encourage you to follow us, follow Extreme Zero Waste on social media to see what we do. I am happy to take any questions. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Great, thank you, Michelle. That's a very good submission. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to present. Looking around the board, I do not see any questions at this stage. So, again, thank you for your submission. You're welcome to stay online and watch if you so wish. Otherwise, have a great day.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Michelle. Our next submitter on the schedule is Robin Johnson. No? Oh, yes. Okay. Good morning, Robin. Welcome to the chamber. Is this your first time submitting? Oh, okay. All right. Off. Okay.
For a document of 56 pages, there is remarkably little factual reporting, nor is there any new or novel ideas the Council intends to implement. The previous plan had 22 pages and was far more comprehensive. In 5 minutes, it's not possible to cover the 56 pages meaningfully. Hamilton Kirikiriroa is leading the way towards a low-waste city. I would ask, in what way are the Council actually doing this? Outcome 1. Low-waste solutions are easy, and the Council and the Hamilton community are using them. So, if in fact the community is using them, what is the problem? I would suggest that low-waste solutions are not easy, and most families with 4, 5, 6 people particularly are filling their red bins to the top with material that is not suitable for recycling. Also, are we good at only filling the yellow bins with recyclables and not other stuff? I'd also like to know how much of the yellow bin material is truly recycled within New Zealand, and more importantly, how much ends up in landfills. I do know that in Auckland, for instance, the corrugated paper manufacturer ends up with 25% of the paper and cardboard goes back to landfill. We need to know what happens, and providing some details would be useful. At the forefront of change, the Council comments, we lead by example and advocate for change. We are recognised as a go-to council for action and expertise. Now, who recognises us as the go-to council? Is it not typical of many statements in this publication that suggest the council is far and above the average? On what basis is this statement made? I cannot believe that any ratepayer has said to the council, I believe you're a go-to council. Acting for the future. We are innovative and take action for the long-term well-being of our people and planet. That's a lovely statement. What, if any, are these innovative actions by Council? There are no concrete examples given. The Council also, I think, underestimates the circular economy. There's a thriving private recycling network of op shops, cash converters, demolition material stores, as well as house removal companies. Collectively, these far outnumber the badly located council recycling facilities. Surely these local initiatives rate a mention. In the past, things were a lot more simple. Milk was packaged in glass bottles. They were washed and reused. Beer and soft drinks were similarly packaged. Today we see a small amount of beer still packaged in returnable glass bottles and reusable wooden crates. But things have changed. Today we have a much wider variety of packaged goods, and very few of these are reused in the way they used to be. The other change that's happened in the last 50, 60 years, plastics have become cheaper and widely available. Economies of scale resulted in fewer larger businesses. And this is inevitable. And large-scale manufacturing in China gave us many more options, and we responded accordingly. And this is largely why we have more rubbish than we used to. But there is very little in the council scheme that really looks at where we're going to go.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for your submission. I appreciate you taking the time to come in today. We've gone a little bit over time, but I would ask if there are any questions. No, none from the floor. Thank you so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a great day. Okay, now our next submitter is online, and sorry, she's not there yet. Okay. Move on. Okay, we can't come back to her. No. Okay. She hasn't shown up in time, so we're going to move on. So, okay. Oh, okay. So I'll move them. Move item 6. Thank you, Councillor Ewan. All those in favour? Against?
Carried unanimously.
Okay. Great. Okay, so that takes us to item number 7. Now, do we still want to have a short? No. We can crack on. Okay. All right. So my understanding is that Melissa is online. Good morning, Melissa.
Morning, councillors. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Melissa. So you're speaking to item number 7, Ashurst Park reclassification.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Happy to start whenever you're ready.
Yep, floor is yours, 5 minutes.
Kia ora, thank you. I shouldn't need 5 minutes. I only wanted to briefly touch on some parts of the proposal. So firstly, I just wanted to highlight again my support for the new Puketi Neighbourhood House project, but I'm not supportive of the new proposed site. The reason for that is the reasons that were originally highlighted at the first hearing on the Puketi Neighbourhood House project. The site at the Sportsdrome is not appropriate because it is inaccessible for people with mobility issues. It does not encourage micro-mobility, cycling, walking, and public transport use, and the current site is not fit for purpose. For those reasons, I just wanted to highlight my preference for the original site on Ashurst Street by the playground and reiterate the reasons that the site at the Sportsdrome was not appropriate. But I am excited one way or another for this project to finally happen. Thank you.
Great. Whoops. Thanks, Melissa. Thank you for your submission. I don't see any questions on the board, so thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Yep, you too. Kia ora. Now, our next submitter is Gordon Spears. Good morning, Gordon. Yep, please feel free to come up to the seat there. As you're speaking as an individual is my understanding, so you have 5 minutes, which will be up on the board counting down. So, sorry, actually,
How are we for quorum now?
Yep.
You're good for now.
yeah.
Okay, what is the quorum number?
5 for good.
5, okay.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty. Sorry about that, Gordon.
Yes, thank you for listening to me. I first of all have an apology to make. I came home from work one evening and I scribbled out a whole lot of ideas that were floating around in my head, and I posted them instead of saving them, which was a little bit embarrassing to me, and I could not retrieve them. I spoke to the lady here at the council, and she said that I can't get them until they're posted. So, so I'm not going to read that out again because I want it to be factual. I didn't want to be I just got a whole lot of stuff off my chest. So I apologise for how some of it might have been over the top. But to get back to some of my points, I questioned how much effort the Puketi House put into finding a more suitable location. My first thoughts were maybe the base as an excellent location. They may be possible, they may be receptive to such an idea, such a proposal. The community house have had plenty of time to get proactive and take responsibility to secure a more permanent site with an obliging benefactor. Instead, they had an attitude of entitlement because they are a charity, and as a result, the proposed site, to me, is going to be problematic for people who have disabilities trying to get in there. It also strikes me as quite risky to invest $6 million in a venture that is reliant on volunteers. Coupled with this, the massive rates increase is going to be an extra burden on ratepayers. I think the council should send this back to the drawing board. I think the council should really look at the future with Hamilton as the fastest growing city. This site would be better developed into a recreational sport facility which would complement the sports stream and other facilities that would fit into the theme of the park, which are recreational and sports. That's basically what my points I'd like to make.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Gordon. Appreciate that. I don't see any questions on the board from any of my colleagues, so appreciate you taking the time to come in today. Apologies for the lost notes if it gives you any comfort, but yeah, thank you very much for your submission.
Thank you.
Okay. We're just going to leapfrog the next speaker and go straight to you, Scott, if you'd like to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mark. Good morning. Scott Tiffany, General Manager, Puketi Neighbourhood House. Today, of course, advocating in support of the proposed partial reclassification of Ashurst Park adjacent to the Sportsdrome. Given my role and involvement in this project to date, my submission shouldn't really come as any great surprise. This submission is concise, focused, and it won't take long. With this being the second attempt to secure a confirmed location for this facility, it is imperative that we move forward decisively to bring this project to fruition. While I have not always found myself in complete alignment with all perspectives surrounding this project, I hold the great respect for the democratic process. The active engagement of the community underscores the profound impact of their voices on the decisions that get made at this table. I am content with the outcome we have achieved and firmly believe that this chosen location effectively addresses the concerns voiced by some residents regarding the previous proposal. The proposed reclassification, as you know, opens the door to the construction of a purpose-built community centre, a significant endeavour not undertaken by our city in 2 decades. This initiative promises to significantly enhance our service delivery capabilities, expand community support, and serve as a central hub for fostering social and community connections. Criticisms often levied at councils for disregarding community input or pursuing projects lacking in public support does not apply to this project in my assessment. While opinions were divided regarding the initial proposed location of the building, with approximately 40% of submitters opposed to the reclassification at that time, they have also revealed an overwhelming support for our organisation and the idea of establishing this facility within our community. When you read many of these submissions, and you listen to the verbal submissions and read commentary in the media online, the support becomes evident. We saw many of those opposed voice their support for our organisation, their support for the work that we do, and their support to the idea, once again, of having a facility like this in their community, even with some of the staunchest opposition sharing that opinion. They just weren't sold on the location. And now we found an alternative. Reviewing the submissions this time around, the support is evident, with nearly 80% of respondents in favour of this proposal, with the percentage increasing when looking at the number of Puketi residents lending their support. Even among some of those uncertain or opposed, reluctance stemmed from a desire to retain the original proposal. And whilst I commend their dedication and thank them for their support, progress demands that we look forward and continue moving ahead. The widespread support garnered for this project reflected in submissions and comments from elected members, which cheekily I included some of in my written submission, unequivocally signals the backing of both the community and the city at large for the advancement of this project. Notably, recent instances of partial reclassification of similar land for community purposes such as Fairfield Park and Claudelands Park underscore the precedence and necessity of such processes. The project aligns with a long-standing commitment of HCC to create purpose-built community spaces and addresses a recognised need within our city. Whilst the journey this far has been protracted, it reflects the necessary procedural steps for a project of this nature. And if all proceeds as envisioned, we anticipate opening the building to the community in 2026. Coinciding with the 40th anniversary of Puketi Neighbourhood House, a poignant testament to our enduring commitment, today with around 50 paid employed staff. During this consultation process, one submitter labelled us another do-gooder organisation that has come along. And I think 40 years of proven ability to provide for our city shows that we are more than just another do-gooder organisation. 40 years of holding a dream of having a purpose-built facility, 40 years of promises, 40 years of broken promises, 40 years of continuing to fight for what we have achieved, and 40 years of providing for our people, our community, and our city. We have more than proven our ability to deliver for this city. Reflecting on the past hearing, I recall the palpable tension and diverse viewpoints that characterised discussions on that day. And despite the apprehension I felt in the environment, in a room where I was arguably outweighed by submitters with a different viewpoint than that of mine, I reaffirmed our willingness to consider alternative locations when questioned on that point. Today I am here standing by that commitment, urging this council to uphold its intentions and advance this project for the betterment of our city. Let's honour our commitments, forge ahead, and translate aspirations into tangible outcomes for our city by partially reclassifying this section of Ashurst Park. Thank you.
It's great, thank you, Scott. I do see a question on the board, and I'll go to Councillor Taylor.
Chair, I'm trying to couch it as a question, but it's not going to be easy. Scott, I want to acknowledge your submission and thank you for it. And I also want to acknowledge that Puketi Neighbourhood House kind of found itself caught in the middle a little bit during that process, but it was no reflection on what you do. And I just want to acknowledge the amazing work that Puketi Neighbourhood House does do.
Thank you.
Thank you for a really gracious submission.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Jeff, I didn't really see a question in that, but I'll
Do you agree?
yeah, yes, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Thank you. I'll let that one pass. Councillor McIndoe,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again,
just before you go, just a reminder that there are no experts in the room today in terms of the reclassification process. Is there? Oh, you can? Okay, all right, sorry.
All right.
Okay. They can, yeah, yes, they can. Thank you. Yeah. Right, Councillor McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be fairly brief as well. And again, as I did at the start of the meeting, I just want to declare the possible conflict of interest because I wrote a submission in support of Puketi Neighbourhood House's aspirations last year. So I just need that to be on the record. And I too would like to echo the comments that Councillor Jeff made earlier, Scott. Thank you very much for the huge work you do. In my previous role, I had regular contact with Puketi Neighbourhood House, and I'm very, very appreciative of the wide range of important activities and events that you provide in that community. You would have been here, and unfortunately the previous submitter has left the room, but you would have heard his criticisms, and I'd be interested if you would, to some extent in your verbal submission you have just responded to a couple of his points, but he was suggesting an alternative location and whether you had considered it, that i.e. particularly the base, and he was also critical of the approach of Puketi Neighbourhood House. I'm not echoing those criticisms, I'm simply inviting you perhaps to respond to them.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so historically there was the 3 locations that were pitched. Then there was, and I'm not sure of the sort of the timeline, but then there was a sort of a hearing and a deliberations report, and in that question there were some questions to staff then to explore even further alternates, and I think there was then even 9 proposed locations. Councillor Bidder looked at one in the Karewa Maui Street development. There was some on Church, 2 sites on Church Road that were potentially explored. The Ashurst one, a couple of different configurations at the Sports Dome, and this is where council landed it on. We supported that, and I think you could look around the city at all sorts of different locations and maybe not appease everybody. But we have been very open, and I probably echo Councillor Jeff's comments earlier that we sort of got caught a little bit in the middle, but we've been very open to having those discussions and go, okay, what is our community telling us and where do we want to go? I'm not going to speak for the previous speaker, but I just think there's I think there's just arguably there's a little bit of maybe a misunderstanding of exactly what we do and who we are. You know, 50 employed and 50 paid employed staff is not a reliance on volunteers. Would the base be suitable? High profile for sure, but this is ultimately going to be a facility that's going to be owned by council. Do we have the budget to go and buy a piece of land at the base? I would have to assume no. And so I think there's already some infrastructure there with parking, location, et cetera, and having it next to the Sports Dome just makes sense. Yes, there's some challenges, but if we can firm up a location, then we can start to work through practical solutions to address those challenges.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
My good friend.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for your submission and echoing again the comments of colleagues. It's a fantastic job that you guys do in the community, and we appreciate it. All the best. Thank you for being so patient for today too. Rightio, we're going to just jump backwards a little bit and go to our well-known friend online, former councillor, Mr. Martin Gallagher. You're on mute, Martin. You've had all this time away to fix your IT skills, and yet here we still are.
Bless you, Martin.
Yeah. Are you still on mute?
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Here we go. We've got you. Okay.
Yeah. This is where I miss Amy having to help me. If she gets calls in the middle of the night, it's me trying to work my IT, but as it is.
Okay.
Yeah, look, thank you for that. I just want to basically emphasise the point that Scott has made. I think I realised today your terms of reference are fairly narrow. You're just looking at the location. The Community Environment Committee will deal with this anchor decision moving forward. It seems to me that while there had been a preferred location, and because of community consultation, rigorous as that was, you have settled on this alternative. I think there's a huge logic in terms of having this, if you like, attached to the total Te Rapa Sportsdrome facility. So that will become quite a significant community facility for Hamilton North. I just want to very quickly acknowledge the long journey which, as a councillor back in 1986 and onwards, it was my huge privilege to interact with heroes such as Sue Wood and Sue Ravelich, and this is yet another amazing story of a grassroots organisation. Ordinary people have given it their time, and here we are today, nearly 40 years later, and certainly this facility is well overdue. They've outgrown their current accommodation, so to speak. Also, Dave Mack will send his regards, and him, like I, have been long friends and have seen the need. And certainly I acknowledge people around the council table who have had a similarly long association with the Puketi Neighbourhood House community.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for your submission. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us online.
Not quite as busy as yours, Mr. Chair, but
no, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions of our... No? Okay. All right. Thanks, Martin. So with that, I will move the item 7, Ashes Park reclassification, and Councillor Ewan to second. Has anyone got any debate? No? All those in favour? Aye. Against?
Carried unanimously.
Okay. So with that, that brings us to the completion of this Regulatory and Hearings Committee meeting. So thank you everyone for your attendance. Thank you to the submitters who came in person, Scott and co, and thanks to everyone online. I'll call the meeting closed. Have a great day.